Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. Today is Friday, which means it is Attic Find Friday, the best day of the week, hands down. And we have a new one today. And when I say new, I mean very new. It's as of this week. It's going to be a short one, I think. Before that, though, Attic Find Friday is sponsored by Iron Guard Supplies. Go to ironguardsupplies.com, entering code JUNKWAX20, JUNKWAX20, for 20% off your order. I'll put the link and the code in the description to this video. Let's jump into this quick attic find I am calling the Velveeta find. And Heritage Auctions tweeted the story out on Wednesday with two videos featuring an older gentleman named Terry who appears to be in a diner with a 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle, ungraded, just sitting there with it in his hand. It's wild. But Terry tells the story, and he's actually a pretty decent storyteller. He apparently remembers pulling this card from a pack in 1952, so 71 years ago. He pulled a 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle from a pack. He stored, at that time, he and his brother stored all of their comic books and baseball cards in their attic at that time. When he went off to the Army later on, his father eventually passed away, and his mother and his brother cleaned out the house, throwing away all the comic books, all the baseball cards. Very common story. We talk about this often. Same thing that happened to my dad with all of his cards in the late 1960s. His mother threw them away when he went off to college. And so for many, many years, decades, Terry thought that all of his cards were thrown away, were gone, destroyed. A couple of years ago, though, he was talking to his brother, and he said to his brother, "Hey, you threw away all my baseball cards." And his brother laughed and said, "Yeah, but I have a Mickey Mantle. Could that one be yours?" And sure enough, it was the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle. And Terry says that his brother saved 12 cards. He doesn't mention 10 of them, but he has the Mickey Mantle with him. The other one was a Pee Wee Reese card. Doesn't say what year, doesn't say anything else about it. So he's got the Mantle, he's got the Pee Wee Reese, and his brother stored them in a vintage cheese box. And Heritage calls it a Velveeta cheese box. It doesn't appear to be Velveeta unless Farmdale cheese turned into Velveeta, which I tried researching it. I didn't find any real details about Farmvale and Velveeta. Farmdale still exists, but I don't know if it's the same company. So his brother saved these 12 cards in this old cheese box for 50 years in the crawl space of his house, under his house. So it's a Farmdale pasteurized processed cheese food. And I Googled this, and it is an actual legal name for this specific kind of cheese. They can't just call it cheese because it's pasteurized processed cheese food. Always interesting stuff. Made me think of Dennis Eckersley, who, when he was announcing for the Red Sox, would call certain pitches, they had a lot of cheese on them. Well, this Mickey Mantle had a lot of cheese on it. Thankfully, not literally, because I don't know how PSA would grade that with cheese on the card. Terry says that because they sat in the dark all those years in the crawl space, the color is very, very sharp. If the card is off with PSA right now, it'll be in a Heritage auction soon. I'm curious, though, how much is the box worth? When you think about that box, will the card be sold with the box? Is the box worth anything as a part of this, or is it worth anything to a vintage box collector? I don't know. I couldn't find anything out about that either. It actually looks like a card box, a box that you'd use for ungraded cards. Just slide them in with top loaders or not with top loaders, an old set box, interestingly, which is probably what Terry's brother was thinking too. So the card will soon be hitting the auction block of cheese. Sorry. Recent public sales, since we don't know what this graded yet, and I'll update a video later on. We don't know what this graded yet. Recent public sales of Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps, PSA 7, and I'm only going through reasonable grades. I don't think this is higher than a 7. I don't even think it's a 7, but I'm going to give you 3 through 7. Actually, let's start with 3. The last 3 sold for $85,000 in November, which is higher than most comps last year. Probably much more well-centered, I'm guessing, than the other threes. A 4 recently sold for $92,000 a few months ago. A 5 sold for $134,000 in September. A 6 sold for $300,000 in October. A 7 sold for $366,000 in December. So Terry's probably in line for a pretty nice payday unexpectedly. You know, if I get even $85,000 at a 3, I'd be pumped. If I had an authentic, that money that it could bring to me and my family would be huge. And Terry's probably going to get 6 figures here based on the it's tough to really tell how nice that card is based on the size of we don't really get a picture of it yet. I would expect that more of these will come as the National approaches. These are amazing marketing vehicles for these cards and for these auctions. If you think about how many eyeballs see this story now because of the story, not because of the card, but I'm creating a video on it. Various websites have done stories on it. It's on Twitter. If somebody just said Heritage Auctions is selling a 1952 Topps Mantle, well, those come up pretty frequently. It's not exactly a low pop card, but when you have a story behind it, a really cool story, and I've talked about, I wonder if some of these stories are made up. I don't think this one is, because it actually has a person attached to it that you can see and they're interviewing. But I think that as the national approaches, the excitement around cards gets bigger, and then having the story hit the news brings attention to the auction, which is good for the entire auction house. So I expect more of these to come out soon. Last year there was a massive one right before the National, at least one. So I have another one. This month is all baseball card attic finds. I think at least 4 out of the 5 Fridays in June. I have a really cool video from a subscriber that I might do tomorrow with some really interesting buys that he's made. He's got photos, he's got a story. And then I have another attic find next week from another subscriber who has been working with somebody who has pulled out all of his cards, I think from his childhood. And it's an older man also. So probably be doing that one next week or the week after. We'll see. If you're new here, click that subscribe button. I put out these Attic Find Fridays, surprisingly, every Friday, hence the name. And other sports card content all week, every week. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I will be back probably tomorrow and Sunday. I'm also on Hobby Hotline tomorrow, 11 a.m. on Bench Clear Media. Make sure you come over, watch. It's live. You can comment, and we will respond to your comments sometimes if it's interesting enough. All right. Have a great one, guys.